We have an opponent in this state that we will work 365 days a year to defeat. We will work 365 days a year to dominate. When we all wake up in the morning, our goal is to dominate our opponent. The feeling of dominating your opponent is like no other. And whatever team is on our schedule, that's our goal, what we will work towards every single day. That was Georgia Tech's new head coach, Brent Key, who was the interim head coach for the Jackets when they came to Athens and lost. I cannot recall the final score, but it was not close. And those are some interesting words. I mean, I think there's um, he went on to say 365 days we will work to dominate that opponent. Understand that. So listen, Brent, that's all. That sounds great, man. That's a really I'm not even being sarcastic when I say that is the right mindset to have. But we're a long way from that happening. Um, and you know it. I know it. Your players know it. The Georgia players know it. And I think that the expression from the president at Tech or the leader, whatever it's the name of the institution is for their leader, um, knows it too. I mean, they were surprised to see you say that. Georgia Tech needs to be a lot less obsessed with Georgia and a lot more obsessed with getting themselves right. Tech is a long way from home on that front. It's got a long way to go. And Tech folks, I'm sure you're going to be fully triggered by what I'm saying, but it's the truth. Uh, and Georgia Tech again needs to worry less about dominating Georgia and more about dominating the day that they have at that time. I mean, there's a lot more in Tech's way than just the dogs. And in the new world that we're going to be living in the future, um, it's going to be even more difficult for Georgia Tech to move forward that way. But he wanted to set a marker. This is a former Tech player. I'm sure the disdain for Georgia is a serious thing, but it doesn't matter what you say; it matters what you do. And a couple of days ago, Tech I thought played really hard for about a quarter, and then they got their ass whipped. So it doesn't matter what I say or what Brent Key says or all that stuff. It matters what happens. So, but having grown up in Atlanta and understanding Tech from that perspective, um, you know they've always been more worried about Georgia than they should be. I mean, this is a long-standing thing. It happened before Key got there. It's going to go on in the future, but Tech needs to worry about Tech. They need to worry about getting right. And that's why I think a lot of the stuff that Brent Key has shown as a coach is really positive, but I think he regresses to the Tech, mean for lack of a better term, when he starts with this stuff about, dominating Georgia. I mean, look, that sounds great, but there's you got to do more than just talk. It's got to be action. And there's been plenty of action. It just didn't dominate Georgia at all. I, by the time you're watching this, I'm probably going to be out of Kelee books, but I'll show it to you. DAWGSTRUCTION is still available. The link is down below. I have 7 Kelee Ringo-Signed books remaining right now. So the likelihood is that, just check it out, man. I might have one left by the time you see this video. But DAWGSTRUCTION, I can still get out to you. They're not signed by Kelee Ringo, but they are an awesome, awesome gift for Christmas, holidays, whatever. I think the Georgia fan on your list will enjoy that. I I don't know how much sympathy I have for Georgia Tech. I know Tech pretty well. Having friends coach there, play there, growing up in Atlanta, going there and playing myself at times in high school, and there is potential there. I don't know that it will ever be Georgia, Florida, Alabama. I mean, Brent Key was the one that was talking about how Georgia Tech. There was some insane quote he had earlier in his career at Tech, talking about all it can offer. No, man. I mean, I think fans are not. It sounds great, but the Tech folks that I know, they just want to be competitive again. And 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 they weren't this year, and they have not been since, since Jeff Collins got there. Um, so I think if you can do what Paul Johnson did at Georgia Tech, it will be a success. And it sounds like I'm like kind of just taking a big turd on Brent Key. I'm very specifically taking a turd on that comment. I think that Tech played well in Athens. I think that they fought. I think they never gave up. And I think that is step one to everything else. But I just don't, know where the obsession with Georgia at Tech is stupid. It is not productive for that place. And it is one of the premier academic institutions in the country. It is. And I think that it's got a lot going for it. But it needs to be a lot less concerned with what's going on athletically in Athens, because they've always been the second of two in terms of athletics. They're probably going to always be that way, with the exception of a couple blips on the radar here and there. I can think of moments in time, uh, in my lifetime, so 45 years, where Tech was the better athletic department, and it did not last very long. It did not last very long at all. So um, I think you want to be the best Georgia Tech you can be. And Georgia should be worried about being the best Georgia it can be, not worried about Florida or Alabama or, Ohio State or Michigan or any of these places. You got to be the best Georgia, and if you're the best Georgia, the championships will come. And this is the part I think that they're missing over there. I mean, quite clearly Key has done a good job of, I mean, he's quite clearly got head coaching chops. He was important on the UCS staff when O'Leary was there. He played during Georgia Tech's heyday. Like, it did not get better in our lifetimes than the time that he was at Tech. You want to talk about a one season national championship run that you shared the national championship with Colorado? That was a great season at Tech. They had a great 3 years at Tech when he was playing there. I mean, it was not just some one-off. It was a run of time. So I think what he's viewing Tech as is the lens of that 3 year period. It's a little bit like saying, I had the most amazing sex ever from 1990, 8 to 2000. And I think, even though, I think I can replicate that now, even though that was the best ever, I think I can replicate that all the time. I mean, I think the answer to that is no. But I don't know why they're so hell bent on watching Georgia and being interested in Georgia. Just worry about Tech. Like, just worry about Tech. And if you do that, you can get from point A to point B. I mean, you might not be able to get to point Z, but nobody's expecting that. And if you're like, don't come in here with this, we're going to win a national championship stuff. Like, I don't think he said that. I'm not aware that he said that, but like, dominating your opponent, they very well could beat Georgia in the future. Like, we don't live in the world of absolutes on Dog Post. We're not idiots. But dominate, I don't know about that part. But it's two things at once here. If they play like they did in Athens in the first quarter for 36 quarters or however long a season is, I need my 48. Excuse me. I need my Georgia Tech friends to help me out with their abacus there on that deal. Um, if they can play 48 quarters of football like that, they stand a chance of being really good. They couldn't play 4 quarters like that against Georgia. I watched their game against Clemson. They couldn't do that. I watched their game against Virginia. They couldn't do that. They hung in there with Virginia and Clemson. Clemson's not good right now. And they hung in there with them and got beat by a million. They hung in there with Georgia and got beat by a million. It's going to take someone capturing the imagination of 16, 17-year-old guys. They don't care about what's happening at Georgia. Guys that are going to Tech want to know how they'll be successful. So, am I overdoing this? No, not really, because this is a nonstop thing at Tech. My friends on North Avenue, listen for once. Listen for once. Concentrate on Tech. Worry about Tech and only Tech. Don't worry about Georgia. That won't get you much further along. I'm telling you right now, it will. It will. And dominate, man. Worry about dominating, and I mean this respectfully. Worry about dominating Miami and Wake and Virginia and all that other stuff. And if Georgia takes a dip, you know, or even if they don't, worry about the other stuff along the way. To hell with Georgia. Why are y'all so worried about Georgia? Like, well, it's not good for you. Like, it doesn't make sense to be that obsessed with the other school. It's not healthy, and it doesn't help Georgia Tech at all. But this guy obviously, I think this is an upgrade. I'll tell you that right now. Jeff Collins was a joke. I mean, this guy was on his staff, but Jeff Collins was a joke, and this is definitely an upgrade. Now, how much of an upgrade from a guy who couldn't win 10 games in 3 years or whatever it was, I don't know. But he had more success going 4-4 than Jeff Collins in one season than Jeff Collins really did. I mean, this guy has a winning record in ACC play. Like, that just never happened with Jeff Collins, getting his ass whipped left and right. I think Tech's going to be better, but this domination stupidity, it's got to stop. And the obsession about Georgia, they just need to concentrate on themselves. It will do them a world of good.